Hi viewers, welcome to History Lessons. Today we are going to discuss about the short notes in world history. Today's topics: Leonardo da Vinci, Erasmus, Machiavelli, and Galileo. First, observe the synopsis. Leonardo da Vinci is a proficient in different fields: painting, sculpture, engineering, and patronized by royal house nobles. Famous paintings: Mona Lisa, a portrait of woman, and her smile is a beautiful, wonderful for the critics. Last Supper, Jesus Christ with his followers, the Last Supper painting drawn by Leonardo da Vinci. His facial expressions and light shade and light color, these are the major features of his Leonardo da Vinci paintings. Machiavelli is 15th century political thinker, author of The Prince, rejects the interference of church. He advocated kings how to get power. His slogan was "End justifies means." It make a path for modern nations and dictators. Erasmus is a humanist in 16th century, studied and taught in different famous institutions, Oxford, Paris, and wrote a Greek New Testament, respect for Christian values, and author of Praise of Folly. Criticized the monks and church ignorance, corrupt practices of the church. The last one is Galileo. Invented telescope in astronomy brings enormous change. Observed motions of the planets. Prove Copernicus theory, but he get punishment. Also invented pendulum principles, laws of motions in physics. Invented thermometer to measure the temperature. Is a father of experimental sciences. These are the sharp notes. Let us start with Leonardo da Vinci description. See the Leonardo da Vinci's pictures, the most beautiful paintings of Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci was proficient in variety of fields such as engineering, architecture, sculpture, and painting. He was patronized by Strozza family of Milan, by the Medici Florence, and by the French royal house. His paintings reflected his mastery over light shade and color. He made a careful study of human anatomy and problems of perspective. And when you observe these, the problems of perspective, one of his most famous painting is the Mona Lisa. Mona Lisa. So when you observe the famous paintings of the Leonardo da Vinci, we can have the Mona Lisa as well as the Last Supper. The Last Supper one of them is better him. It is also fresco executed on the walls of monastery in Milan. In this painting, he arranged the apostles in four groups of these men, each around the central figure of Christ. The background was kept simple. Older painters had shown the coming treachery of Judas by placing him in isolation. But Leonardo placed Judas among the apostles, relying on facial and bodily expression to convey the guilt of one of the concentration of others. These are the famous things of Leonardo da Vinci. So, when you observe these paintings, the famous paintings of Leonardo da Vinci's, The Last Supper, as well as the Mona Lisa, these are the beautiful pictures of Leonardo da Vinci. He is the expert in different fields. He's a painter, he's a sculptor, and engineering expert. He invented a iron with a mechanism. It shows like a real natural lion. The fans seem amazed by visualizing the lion machinery. So these are the adventures of Leonardo da Vinci. See the paintings. His portrait, Leonardo da Vinci's own portrait. The other paintings, the famous Mona Lisa, as well as Last Supper. This painting will be exhibited in the courtesy of top and most famous painting of Leonardo da Vinci, History of Art and Work. See the Last Supper. The picture Last Supper. It is a study of a moment when Jesus Christ, his 12 disciples, that one of them will betray him. It is a fresco executed on the walls of monastery in Milan. In this painting, he arranged the apostles in four groups of three men each around central figure of Christ. The background kept simple. Older painters had shown the coming treasury of Judas by placing him in isolation. The last one is Mona Lisa. It is a beautiful picture painted by none other than Leonardo da Vinci. It is a famous painting, a portrait of a woman whose enigmatic smile has intrigued art lovers for centuries. It's a The art critics are studying about her enigmatic smile in this famous painting Mona Lisa. When we look at a glance at Mona Lisa picture, the enigmatic smile can easily brought the attraction of art lovers. Next, we will go to another synopsis. It is Erasmus. He was a theologian. He was born in Rotterdam, Angola, also in Netherlands Holy Roman Empire on 20 October. Was Othergad. Erasmus was the foremost humanist and priest of 16th century. He was a Dutchman and was called Prince of Humanists. Erasmus was cosmopolitan who studied, taught, and lived in Oxford, Cambridge, and Paris, in Italy and Germany, and also in Switzerland. Erasmus knew Greek and he published a scholarly edition of the Greek New Testament. While writing, he cared for content as well as style. Erasmus joined love of classics with respect for Christian values. In his book, Price of Folly, he attacked the ignorance and credibility of the monks. It implied that the wide gap between professed ideas and corrupt practices of church could not long endure. His writings did much to set others on the path of ecclesiastical reform. However, he did not favor a violent revolt against church. Humanism was thus opposed to Protestant movement, although it paved the way for it. So he is a foremost reformer. His writings, famous writings, is Praise of Folly. In his Praise of Folly, he critiqued about the practice of the church. And also in Greek, he wrote New Testament. Next topic, we will go to another topic. It is Machiavelli. Machiavelli is a political thinker. Niccolo Machiavelli was a great political thinker who lived in 15th century. He was also influenced by humanism. He authored the famous work The Prince. It is a treasury on how to get power and keep it. To him, end justifies the means, and the kings could do anything to achieve success. His wisdom was marvelous. He categorically rejected the intervention and influence of church in the state affairs and placed the state above religion. Thus, it gave emphasis on the idea of sovereign state as opposed to the community of Christendom. It marked the beginning of the concept of modern nationality. The sovereign nation state is collective counterpart of the autonomous human person. This is another topic, Niccolo Machiavelli. The most famous political thinker, Niccolo Machiavelli, lives between 1469 and 1527. He wrote a famous work, The Prince. In the famous work, Prince, he advocated king, instructed king how to get power and how to retain it. It gave a path for modern nations and for also modern dictators, modern sovereign states. It is a book written by Niccolo Machiavelli, The Prince. Next, we will go to the Galileo. Galileo was a famous scientist. The theory of Galileo, he invented the first laws of motion. Galileo was a distinguished scientist in mathematics, in mechanics, as well as astronomy. The final credit of substantiating of the Copernicus theory with necessary proof went to Galileo. By inventing telescope and observing the motions of heavenly bodies, he could prove Copernicus theory by a large content and with correct. When he tried to prove the theory of Copernicus was correct, he was punished by the church for challenging its belief and authority. Galileo's research in mechanics paved the way Newton's laws of motion. Therefore, he was called as father of experimental sciences. So, he proved many astronomical things with his newly invented telescope, and also he was accredited for invention of thermometer, which measures for human temperature, and military compass. So, Galileo Galilei, called as father of experimental sciences. This is the short biography and short notes about Galileo Galilei. So, dear viewers and learners, today we have discussed about the four sharp notes: Leonardo da Vinci, Erasmus, Machiavelli, and Galileo. When you observe the sharp notes, Leonardo da Vinci is a proficient in different fields in painting, sculpture, engineering, patronized by royal house and nobles. His famous paintings are Mona Lisa. In Mona Lisa, it is a beautiful picture, portrait of woman. Her smile was attracted centuries of art critics. Last Supper is a famous, beautiful painting with the Jesus Christ and 12 disciples having the supper. He painted the human emotions with natural expressions, facial expressions, and light shade and light color. These are the beautiful features of Leonardo da Vinci. Erasmus, he was a humanist in 16th century, studied and taught in famous centers like Oxford and Paris, wrote Greek New Testament as well as respect for Christian values, authored the famous book Praise of Folly. He criticized the monks for their ignorance and challenged the corrupt practices of evil practices of church. Machiavelli, he belongs to the political author the book The Prince and rejected interference in terms of church in the state affairs. He advocated kings how to get power in his book. His slogan, "Unjustified means," paved the way for modern nations, sovereign nations. Galilei invented telescope, which brings enormous change in astronomical things. Observed the motions of planets through the Copernicus theory, heliocentric theories, but was punished by church. He also invented the new motion laws, pendulum principles. It make a major invention in physics. He also invented thermometer to measure the temperature of human beings. He was the father of experimental sciences. So these are the four sharp notes we have discussed in this session. Leonardo da Vinci, Erasmus, Machiavelli. So thank you, viewers. We will meet again like this class.